What's up, guys? Welcome back to Viewer Castles. Today we're going to start off with Rain. Castle level is a 25. So we'll jump into it on my archer.
Let's get him, Mr. Pointy.
Alright, so we have a Dr. Skull. We have like a mass resurrect thing going on here. Or at least that's what it looked like. I don't actually know what the purpose of this was. Oh, that was the purpose. Sick. Maybe. I don't know if that was the purpose or not, but it definitely worked. That was really interesting. So basically, the skeletons blocked, like, all of the skeletons that were summoned right away. They blocked me being able to see this thing on the floor. Like, if you notice, it's kind of actually interesting. As I was approaching up this way, I noticed that there was Dr. Skull here, but I didn't see what was on the floor because this wall was blocking me. Then when I got to this point, I aggroed the groups and they all summoned their skeletons. I dropped a volley in them all, and you can barely see that there's a springboard right under here. So that's actually a really interesting idea. But I think like afterwards, whatever you used beyond this trap wasn't really executed like that well. Like you had a couple Cyclopses, a couple Archers. I would have much preferred a couple Stairmasters just waiting for you. Although I don't know exactly where you could have put them, so I wouldn't have seen it. You know what I mean? Because you have to make it so that I don't know that it's coming. And if I see 4 Stairmasters sitting right here, I'm gonna be a little suspicious. So I do understand that specific thing. It's possible that maybe you could have set up a Cyclops charge pushing me into a group of Stairmasters afterwards and have the Stairmasters somewhere over in this area. That's the only thing I could think of maybe that it could work where you get an instant kill, because that's what you really want if you're going to sacrifice a total of 3 groups, or maybe you only had 2, to be able to deal damage to somebody. Like, it really didn't damage me all that much. Now, I am 5 levels over you, and it would have been a little bit harder for someone else to get through that as easily as I did. But even still, even if I was lower level, I don't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something about I probably wouldn't have died or something like that, but I don't really know. Oh, I was going to talk about the Cyclopses, and when you have them on charge, the stun is so much lower than it was in patch 18, and maybe your castle hasn't been updated since then. That you noticed how I didn't even really get shot by any of the archers. Even with tier 4 Cyclopses, it's almost impossible to get shot by archers if you have roll and you just spam it. On level 28, it's a little bit longer. You can get shot by one arrow, but it's still significantly worse than it was before. That's what I was going to say. Alright. So the Scorpio here, I one-shot it, other people won't. I think it's fine. Although it's a little bit exposed, you noticed how I was able to shoot it even beyond this path, beyond this trap. I was like back here, and I shot it, so I didn't have to take damage from this rotating cannon trap. Now, the rotating cannon traps do make me think that you probably have updated your castle. I would take a look at that first room, though, because it did make me, you know, get hit by the springboard trap, and I'm wondering if you could do more with it, because it's definitely a unique idea that I haven't really seen all that often. Something I may even try, you know, just throw it in my castle really quickly just to see how it works. And if it's working for me, I might run it in this competition coming up this weekend, actually. Alright, so we have another Scorpio. I like the Scorpio pulls into, you know, the fire trap. I think that combos well. The fire traps do significantly good damage now, so you know, that's pretty good. I'm still not used to them doing a lot of damage, so sometimes I run into the flames and then I realize I've like lost half my health. Alright, so I can see you using these Stairmasters here. Maybe that's why you didn't want to use Stairmasters in your first room. But if you can set up a solid kill zone that actually works in a patch like this, that's pretty good, honestly. Like, it's probably the best thing that you can hope for. It's only going to work once in your castle and probably only against someone once, so if they wanted to rerun your castle, which is one reason why I would think maybe you want it in a later part of your castle, not as your first room. Because as your first room, one, people are a little bit more apt to take things slowly in your first room, and then also, if someone dies there, they can easily just retry your castle because they died there and they're like, okay, I just won't step on that springboard trap next time, and they can easily just retry really quickly. So if you had it somewhere towards the end or towards the middle of your castle, somebody might get fed up and be like, I don't want to run through that many rooms just to, you know, fix my mistake, and they might go onto somebody else's castle, basically. Which, I mean, it really doesn't matter one way or another. I don't think, at level 25, I doubt you're, like, hurting for loot in terms of, like, gold and life force. Like, it's pretty easy to get when you get up to these higher levels, because everybody's castle is maxed out towards the top end of levels. So we will jump into number 2. Alright, next up is Jehy. Castle levels of 21. I think I'm going to try it on my knight. I think creatures have been nerfed enough where my knight can do level 21 castles. We'll see, though. I might run into a couple problems, but I don't think so. Let's see how hard it is. Alright, so far so good. I do have to deal with these skeletons eventually. I'm just trying to deal with the damage dealers right now. And then I'll deal with the Dr. Skill afterwards, because these guys won't do all that much to me. Even though they're better than they used to be, they're still kind of weak. I still kind of like this unit. When I first started playing the game, I used a ton of puppeteers. If you guys remember, if any of you guys have actually been watching since one of my first videos, I think like my absolute first video, I used a bunch of bone puppeteers. One, because they used to be better than they are now, and two, because I just really liked the idea of the unit, something that can just constantly be summoning something, and you just have to keep fighting it, you know, over and over and over again. I love the idea of Dr. Skill and Puppeteer on this specialization. So, I really want to start trying that as well. I don't remember exactly the castle that I went in at level 32 that I saw someone set up, but I would have liked to take a look at it again. But I really don't remember, so... Alright, so this is a little bit annoying. As you can see, I have to dodge these ballista traps as they're getting fired. And that's what I always talk about with, if you have someone waiting around the corner, you want to put pressure on them. Because as I'm like dodging around here, like I took a bunch of hits that I probably shouldn't have taken, but I wanted to abuse that corner against the Zeke. So I kind of have to take those shots, you know? Alright, so is this a pull or is it a fake? It kind of feels like a fake to me. Alright, yeah, it is. Alright, this is going to be a flank. I'm going to have to take a look at it before I keep going, because I want to see what's coming. And possibly if I can engage this a little bit better from this side. So yeah, even IMAXs, they're okay units, but they don't do a ton of damage with that displacement field. For 14 points, it's a little bit low. I think that sort of thing needs to be buffed. So what do we have? A couple Cyclops is a bad dog. If I Lashing Flame is the bad dog, then the attack speed buff will not go on any of the units, which is good for me. Okay, so I'm assuming that was that was a pull around this side here, but I didn't see the Snotter that came before. That came from behind there. I don't know. Hopefully that group wasn't skippable. I doubt it was. That would have been a silly place to put a group if it was skippable, you know. So yeah, you can see these Cyclops' stuns are just so much shorter than they used to be. That Zeke didn't even get off one shot, and he was pretty much point blank. But the traps have been doing a ton of damage to me. I'm gonna take one heal, one potion. Alright. Alright, so a Mega Mutton and an Archer behind it. The Archer, if I just pull back a little bit, I guess that's actually something you would want to do though. So this is a level 22 mutton. I just want to see 50 damage, and I'm level 19. That's so low. I mean, I don't know why they reduced the fire damage so much. Like, Mega Muttons don't do all that much beyond the fire. That's really all they're good for. If you dodge out of the way of them, they're pretty weak units. But as I was saying, the archer, if you force somebody back through there, that's probably what you want to do, because they go through that rotating cannon trap a couple of times. So it actually makes them take more trap damage, so I think that's good. I was going to say that the archer's easy to dodge, but I think dodging it is actually kind of a benefit to you in itself. So, alright, then we have the boss room. This is going to be a pre-boss room IMAX here. Which, I mean, it's okay. The damage is still a little bit low on it. It's only 100 per tick, which isn't as scary as like the Defenatron, the Stairmasters up at, you know, level 28s and 32s, but it still does reasonable damage, as you can see. Alright, and then the boss room we have a Count Snottingham, which is, I think, probably the best boss beyond like Dragonificus, and even Dragonificus you can dodge in enough where you take 0 damage. I think actually doing some damage, the Count Snottingham is probably a little bit better, but in terms of like the tankiness of him and overall utility, I think Dragonificus is probably a little bit better. But then it's not available to everybody, so I mean, a lot of competitions don't allow you to use it and stuff like that, and I think that's good. So yeah, pretty good castle. We will jump into number 3 in just a second. Alright, next up we have Duckmaster 333. Castle level's 18, so we'll jump into it on my knight again.
You call this a castle?
So as I've kind of been saying before, I think that spike traps with only 2 active panels, I think that they're better as rotating cannon traps in almost every circumstance. I think it just does more overall damage, and it has a higher chance of actually proccing when there's only 2 active traps, because it's so easy to dodge these when there's only 2. It's like, okay, I get hit onto that, I take an extra 60 damage from spike trap damage. I think if you take a full round of like rotating cannon trap damage, that's almost triple that, or even quadruple that if you take all 4 ticks. And yes, you could take a Zeke shot, but probably not. Like, I would almost prefer the Zeke to be way up in this corner, even though he's a little bit more susceptible to a headshot. I don't know, maybe on an angle like over here, just something where he can step in and maybe get a shot off, but the Cyclops stun is just so weak now that he probably wouldn't be able to. Like, even if I get hit by that, I think I got hit by 1 arrow there. I can just let myself get hit by these Cyclops stuns and it really doesn't matter. I do like the idea of the charge with the, you know, the spike trap zoning you out. I think that's a very good idea. Probably, like, I've died to this specific setup at level 28 and 32 many times in patch 18. Because one misstep at when you had those Cyclopses at level 28, one misstep with a Zeke and you would die, because you would take the entire blast because the stun was so long, which I kind of liked, you know. People are so adept at actually getting through castles at level 30 and 32. They're so like good at actually controlling their hero and looking for things and knowing what's coming, that that sort of punishing someone for a mistake, I think, is necessary for the game to actually be balanced. But I mean, the game's going to be imbalanced until we get free creation mode, and then they'll probably start trying to balance it again. And even still, it's going to have a weird way of balancing itself without them actually doing anything. Because I mean, it's not really going to ever be balanced with the way that they're looking at it, unless you have some big form of restriction that I wouldn't prefer. Like, if you had to do it in blacksmith gear or something, that would be a huge restriction. Maybe that makes it balanced because you can do your castle over and over and over again to validate it. They couldn't do something like you have 3 tries to validate your castle and then you have to change something, because you could change something super minor like moving a trap 1 hex, and that wouldn't really work. But if they just let it stand, which I hope they do for at least like a little while, like on the test server, I hope they release it with just, you know, you can put whatever in your castle as long as you validate it. It's good. You can do it as many tries as you want to in whatever gear. Because I'd like to see some crazy setups that people come up with. They're going to be super imbalanced because people are going to spend all day just trying to validate one castle. And then, you know, you're going to have one try to get through it or something. And people aren't going to spend all day trying to get through it, so. Plus, you can, like, as it stands right now, you could have, you know, castles that require a specific skill set. And if you don't have that specific skill set, you would just die. It's definitely going to be difficult for them to actually get all the components right. I'm sure they're thinking about these things, and they might even release it with some of it. So anyway, you have a lot of archers in this castle. I think that's fine. The Cyclopses, obviously, as you could see, are a lot less effective than they used to be. Something that I might start trying is... Actually, this might kill me. Something that I might start trying is using battering rams instead of Cyclopses. Because their stun actually lasts longer now than Cyclopses does, which is kind of funny. But they do have to be injured in order to do their stun, so it's not as effective as, you know, it used to be. I don't know. I'm still unsure of how exactly Cyclopses would fit into everything. I do like the utility of pushing someone back onto a trap or back into, you know, a rotating fire trap or something like that to make them take extra damage. And I think if you're looking to improve your castle, a lot of these spike traps that you have, if you switch them out with rotating cannons this patch, and maybe fix your Cyclopses so they're pushing them back into that trap area more often, because that's where you're going to get the majority of your damage out now. It's going to be from traps, it's not going to be from creatures, because creatures have been so nerfed that their damage is just, you know, useless as of right now. Like, if you just have a castle with creatures, there's no creature combination that you can put in that will kill someone, because they can stay healed up from the health globes that they drop. Like, they just don't do enough damage, they don't have enough tanking power. You'll just have too many health globe drops. So, with that said, we're going to end the video here. As always, if you guys enjoyed it, do please subscribe. If you want to be a part of Eurocast, you can email me at frenzycastleruns@hotmail.com. There's a spreadsheet in the description of the video showing you guys where your name is on the list whenever I update it. Obviously, it takes me a couple days to update the list. And yeah, so I will get to your castle whenever I have time. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.